Welcome back to season 2 of Another Broken Podcast. I'm Nick Taylor. I figured it was time to transition into the next season. As I've grown and learned to use my equipment better, and we're going to start branching out into things like interviews, I found it to be the right time to start the next season, especially right after that 2 week long break, which is actually what I was going to talk to you guys about today. If you remember, before the break, I announced that we were going to be doing some collaboration interviews. Those are still in the works. But today I wanted to talk about the last 2 weeks and how it affected my mental health. And I may have found an incredible resource for people who struggle daily with PTSD, anxiety disorders, and just being an introvert. So let's get into it. Summer is usually pretty crazy in my house. I'm a father of 4 boys. I have a few teenagers, a preteen, and a very awesome 9-year old. Something that we've never been able to do is go on a vacation. We've tried a few times to make it happen, but have never really done anything other than visit family or friends. I haven't left the house much this summer, and with everything going on in the world, I just felt like I needed to get away. So we did. We had originally planned to go see friends, and some things happened for my kids that made it where we needed to adjust that. My oldest turned 18, and all he wanted for his 18th birthday was to go to the beach. Originally, he was going to go with his aunt and uncle, but that ended up falling through, and my other son really wanted to go camping. So my wife and I quickly came up with a plan to incorporate both those things in one trip. We would go camping at a state park near the beach. Even though I needed to get away, there was anxiety about the act of doing so, and it came from multiple angles. I'm always nervous about long trips with the vehicles, because if something goes wrong, I feel like I'll be responsible, because I'm the one that takes care of them. And then there's the parental mindset of wanting to make sure that your kids are having a good time the whole time. And then there's the social anxiety. I can't function in crowds or in unfamiliar places. So even though it was something I was looking forward to, it created this anxiety ridden cycle of thoughts of all the things that could happen, and that I needed to have a plan for every possible situation in order to make myself feel safe again so that way we could continue being there. It just went on and on and on. And I'm not going to lie, I tried to suppress those thoughts, which is something I haven't actively done in a long time. But because of where I am, I couldn't keep those thoughts suppressed, which honestly led to me crashing out over not being able to fix something that wasn't even pertinent for the trip. But I had been trying to suppress so much that I just couldn't hold it back anymore. I was nervous, to say the least. I was even having bad dreams about scenarios that could play out while we were there. And I was working on the truck that we were taking literally every day until the day we left. And not being able to repair the thing I was working on when I crashed out, the thing that wasn't related to the trip, it made me feel inferior, and it made me worry more about the work that I was doing on the truck, which I wouldn't normally worry about because I'm a very skilled mechanic. But that's not how anxiety works. You don't get to control how those thoughts roll in, they just show up. And I was having conflicting thoughts every day. I was excited about the thought of taking my family to go somewhere for the first time, while also being terrified of taking my family to go somewhere for the first time. It was wearing me down a lot. And honestly, I would sit down to try to think about what to make content on, and I wouldn't make anything because I didn't feel like I was in the place where I could. And that was hard for me because I enjoy this. I enjoy getting to talk to you guys. I enjoy getting to share my thoughts, feelings, emotions, and how I work through them with you, and learning from you guys while I'm on my own journey. But that feeling of being inferior had spread. Now I wasn't only questioning my technical ability, but I was also questioning my creative ability. Those negative thoughts and feelings had become like a mental and emotional cancer, spreading from one part of my personality to another. I was scared, and that fear got me trapped in negative thoughts. But the day actually came to go on this trip. And we made it there, incident free, and we actually traveled very comfortably. And there was honestly minimal complaints from the kids. And then the most amazing thing happened. We pulled up to the state park campsite that we had reserved, and there was no one. No one around us. It was very tranquil and serene, and there was only one way in and one way out. You wouldn't even go down there unless you had a reason to go down there. So no one did. And although we were alone, we still had creature comforts like electricity, running water, showers, and bathrooms that were right next to the campsite. And because the couple of people that were there were staying in RVs, we had those bathrooms to ourselves. See, when we had reserved the campsite, it showed that all of the lots around us had been taken up. But little did we know, those people had bought season passes, and they just weren't there that week. So it felt like we had our own private site. And because it was set up in a way where no one would come back there unless they needed to, it actually felt safe, which is something that's extremely hard for me to feel. We set up camp and struggled through the hottest night the whole time we were there after doing so. When we got up the next morning, we headed down to the beach. Another thing that I was nervous about, especially because every beach I've ever seen has been so crowded. I found a spot, pulled over, and parked. Not only was there barely anyone on the beach, a few people throwing out a fishing line, one or two people walking their dogs, and that was the only people we saw on about a 10-mile stretch. And the place where we pulled off, not only was there no one when we showed up, but we were there for hours, and we were alone the whole time. It felt like the perfect getaway for a person who struggles with anxiety. As if they'd kept this place like this for people like us in mind. And after reading a little bit of history about Waveland, Mississippi, we found that it was one of, if not the only, stretch of the Gulf Shore that doesn't allow for commercial buildings. There's no huge hotels. There's no giant condo buildings. It's just a small town of 6,000 people right next to a state park. And it felt like a small town, much like the one that I live in. And maybe that resemblance of home was one of the contributing factors of it feeling safe. This was the kind of place where people would have a small one-man sailboat, ride it up to shore, and just leave it there because they weren't worried. Nobody would touch it. And that's kind of how it is here. Everyone was enjoying themselves too. And we were all unplugged. I'd brought my camera with me, so I didn't even use my phone to take pictures. I didn't touch it but twice, just to record a couple snippets and take a few pictures to share with you guys. And I didn't even post or edit them until I got home. So we just remained device free until we left. And that really brought my kids' personalities out. And it gave me a sense of peace to see them enjoying themselves and seeing my wife enjoy herself. We needed to get away from everything, and we found the perfect place for us to unwind, and it was kind of on accident. We really enjoyed the time that we had there, which was just 2 full days and up to noon the last morning. But it was so needed for all of us, and I'm so glad that we found the chance to make it happen. And even happier that it went through incident free, because that gives me more confidence that we could do it again. If you struggle with PTSD, anxiety disorders, or just being introverted, and that keeps you from going places, just know there's places out there like Waveland, Mississippi. You can still find places that you're able to relax, even if you have these struggles. I would highly recommend camping, and even further than that, recommend state parks. But even if that's not your thing, you've got to find somewhere that you can shut everything off and take a break from it all for a minute. I can tell you right now, your mental health needs it. I had no idea how desperate my mind was for a break until I finally let it have it. Your mind deserves a break. Don't wait until you feel like you deserve it, because you already do. You've done so much that you haven't even given yourself credit for. You need to take some time to just shut it all down because you do deserve that. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Another Broken Podcast. I've really enjoyed doing this one with you guys. It's just me sharing with you guys what went on in my own mind. And that was pretty fun to do. Don't forget to follow me on TikTok under the name Another Broken Dad. That's another space where you can get different content from me daily that still revolves around your mental health. Plus, that's where I'll be announcing things like when to expect the upcoming interview episodes and who you might expect to hear from. Like always, you can shoot us an email at brokenmedia1984@gmail.com or just comment on this episode. You already know, whatever way, I'd love to hear from you. I hope you guys can enjoy your weekend and look forward to talking to you again next week. I'm Nick Taylor. Have a good one, guys.